there is a place that seems to recognize you before you arrive, as if it has been waiting in the quiet folds of evening for the exact shape of your tiredness, for the soft, unspoken weight you have carried through the day, and for the part of you that has longed without quite knowing it to be received without question. You do not feel as though you are inventing this place now. You feel instead that you are remembering it. The path that brings you here is already familiar to something deeper than thought, and with each gentle step, a strange and tender certainty begins to rise within you. Why does this place feel as though it knows your name? Ahead of you, beneath the last amber light of sunset, the Posada de las Flores waits in a hush of petals, warm stone, and climbing vines. Its windows hold the evening like lanterns, hold flames softly, glowing softly, welcoming, never demanding. The inn is small enough to feel intimate, yet spacious enough to contain every weary version of you that has ever needed rest. The flowers drape themselves over the old walls as though they have grown there, not merely for beauty, but for blessing. Petals catch the gold of the sinking sun. The stone path keeps the memory of warmth from the day. The stillness all around you is not empty. It is kind, and something in you begins to understand that this is not only a place, it is permission. Permission to loosen your grasp. Permission to stop performing strength for a little while. Permission to arrive exactly as you are without polishing your thoughts or arranging your feelings into something easier to carry. We settle more easily when the mind is given a place to arrive, and this inn, with its amber light and evening quiet, feels like the doorway your inner world has been searching for. You notice how naturally your pace slows as you draw nearer, as if the air itself is asking nothing from you except your presence. The flowers seem to lean closer in the fading light. The hush of dusk gathers around your shoulders like a shawl. Even the silence feels inhabited, gentle, attentive, alive. Here, striving can end. Here, the day does not need to be solved. Here, the tired parts of you are not turned away. They are welcomed in. And if you wish to journey with me each night, subscribe for nightly sessions and comment. I am ready to rewire, letting that intention settle softly into the field around you. Now, the inn stands before you, vine-covered and glowing familiar, in a way that asks for no explanation. The petals, the amber light, the stone path, the evening stillness, all of it seems to say the same quiet thing. You are allowed to rest here. You are allowed to be known here. You are allowed to enter. The stone path extends before you, as though it has always known the shape of your return. Each step lands softly, received without resistance, as if even the ground beneath you understands that tonight is not for effort, not for proving, not for becoming anything more than gently present. The evening is deepening now, not abruptly, but with that slow and graceful surrender. Only dusk seems to know where color does not vanish, but softens where the world does not close, but quiets, and you find yourself walking through that quiet as though you have been invited into a secret that asks nothing of you except that you notice. Along the edges of the path, lavender lifts in pale violet strands, releasing its calm into the cooling air. Chamomile nods in small white faces, simple and unassuming, carrying the softness of old remedies and kind hands. Jasmine leans from the vine in delicate stars, its sweetness drifting toward you in tender waves. never sharp, never overwhelming, only present enough to change the atmosphere around you. Poppies gather in scattered bursts of red and coral, like tiny embers still holding some warmth from the day. Between them grow unnamed wildflowers, soft gold and blue, and cream blossoms that do not need names to be beautiful blossoms that seem to belong to the path in the same way this moment belongs to you. The air itself has changed. It still carries a trace of the day's warmth, but beneath that is the first cool softness of evening settling over the land. You can sense the earth breathing out what it held beneath the sun, warm soil now easing into shadow, the faint mineral scent of stone, the green wetness of leaves beginning to gather dew, the sweetness of flowers opening more fully as the light lowers. Every breath you happen to take seems to bring in not only fragrance but atmosphere, and not only atmosphere but permission. The world around you is no longer asking you to move quickly. It is teaching you, without instruction, how to slow. Your footsteps find their own rhythm, not hurried, not heavy, simply unhurried, steady, easy. The path receives your weight as though it has no objection to carrying you for a while. Small pebbles rest in the earth like little polished thoughts that no longer need solving. The dust of the path is fine and warm in places where the last light still touches it, cooler in the shaded bends, where ivy and grasses lean near. And as you walk, you begin to notice how much can loosen when nothing is being forced. Thoughts that may have followed you here still flicker at the edge of awareness, but they no longer ask to be wrestled with. They begin to dim, not because you push them away, but because something gentler has become more interesting. A breeze moves through the wildflowers and the path seems to breathe with it. Lavender sways, thin stems bow and rise. Petals tremble and then grow still again. Leaves speak quietly overhead in a language made entirely of hush and rustle. Somewhere above you a bird calls once, then once more, then settles into silence. Another answers from farther away, and then that too fades into the widening calm. The sounds are so natural, so unperformed, that your whole inner world begins to take its cue from them. Nothing in this place strains to be noticed. Nothing insists. Everything simply is. And in the presence of that kind of ease, something in you remembers how to be the same. The light has become especially beautiful, now lowered into amber and rose, brushing the tops of grasses, turning old stone to gold, catching in the edges of leaves and vines, as though the day before departing wanted to bless each ordinary thing one last time. Ahead, the inn glows through the flowers, and the descending light, not yet close enough to touch, but near enough that you can feel it drawing you onward with a tenderness that asks for no explanation. The windows hold a warm gold. The vine-covered walls seem deeper in color, now touched by shadow and sunset together. And the nearer you come, the more it feels that this approach is not merely movement through a place, but movement into a version of yourself that no longer needs to hold itself so tightly. We quiet more naturally when the senses are given something beautiful to rest upon. So your attention rests where it wants to rest, on the curve of a petal, on the slow drift of fragrance in the air, on the small dark shapes of birds crossing the last color of the sky, on the way the path bends, then opens, on the faint brush of evening coolness against your skin, on the way silence here feels full rather than empty, like a room softly lit, like a hand placed gently over your own. There is no need to command the mind into stillness when the world is already offering stillness in 100 quiet forms. You pass a low wall of old stone, half hidden beneath ivy, the stones rounded with time, softened by moss, touched by the memory of weather and seasons gone by. Wild thyme grows between the cracks, and when the breeze moves over it, another fragrance rises, green and faintly sweet, grounding and clean. Somewhere close by, water trickles lightly, perhaps from a fountain hidden by the garden, perhaps from a narrow channel running through the roots of climbing plants. The sound is so delicate you might miss it if you were rushing. But you are not rushing. Tonight, you are noticing. Tonight, you are letting the world arrive in you, one detail at a time, and each detail seems to make a quiet promise. The lavender promises calm without effort. The jasmine promises sweetness without demand. The cooling earth promises that the heat of the day does not last forever. The birds settling into their hidden places promise that even the restless know how to return to rest. The path itself, firm beneath your feet, promises that there is a way of moving through life that does not require struggle at every step. All around you, the natural world is modeling ease not as an idea, but as a living atmosphere. And because you are in it, you begin to absorb it. The path widens slightly as you continue, and now you can see more of the inn through arches of vine and flower. Bougainvillea spills in soft abundance over one wall, its petals like thin paper holding the last blush of day. White climbing roses gather near a wooden trellis, faintly luminous in the dimming light, their fragrance subtler now, but no less lovely. Somewhere near the entryway, a cluster of lilies stands tall and pale, waiting within the evening hush. With that quiet dignity flowers sometimes carry, as though they know something beautiful and have no need to speak it aloud. The gate appears ahead, wrought iron, softened by age, touched by curling tendrils of green and little blooms that have found their way through its pattern. It is not imposing. It is not meant to keep anything out. It feels instead like a threshold that wishes only to mark the moment, to honor your arrival, to say gently, "This is where the outer noise begins to fall away." The latch is simple. The path leading through it is lined with more flowers, and lantern light has begun to gather beyond, warming the stone with a softer gold than the sun's. The transition is so gradual that it feels almost like drifting rather than walking, almost like being welcomed by degrees into a state your body and mind have both been needing. As you near the gate, the fragrance grows richer, layered now with ivy-warmed wood, soft earth, faint herbs from some hidden garden bed, and that unmistakable sweetness of flowers opening more deeply at dusk. You do not need to name each scent. You only need to let them surround you. Thoughts may still wander in and out as thoughts do. A memory may rise. A plan may briefly return. Some loose fragment of the day may knock once at the edges of your awareness. And yet it cannot hold you for long here, because every time your mind wanders, the path gives you something more beautiful to return to. The curve of the vines, the amber window light, the hush beneath the bird song, the softness of the air. The world keeps gathering you back without judgment. This is part of the gentleness of the place. Nothing scolds you for thinking. Nothing demands perfect stillness. The evening does not ask you to do anything right. It only continues being what it is. Lavender breathing into dusk stone, hold in warmth, leaves shifting quietly, flowers glowing in lowered light, and in the presence of such steadiness, your inner weather begins to settle of its own accord. You are not fighting your way out of noise. You are being led softly beyond its reach. Now the inn stands close enough for you to notice the texture of the old stone, the way ivy traces the walls like green handwriting, the way the windows glow with a mellow welcome that feels almost human. A lantern near the entrance has been lit, and its amber flame flickers behind glass, turning the nearby flowers to shadow and gold. The wooden door is framed by climbing vines and pale blossoms. The threshold is swept clean. Everything about the place suggests care, but not the kind of care that is polished for display. It is the quieter kind, the truer kind, the kind that makes room rather than impression. Your steps naturally slow even more. The closer you come, the less you feel you are approaching a destination in the ordinary sense. It feels instead as though you are being received into a mood, a softness, an inner permission that has been waiting just beneath the surface of you. The path, the flowers, the evening air, the settling birds, the old stone, the warm light, each has played its part in guiding you here. Each has helped loosen one layer of the day. Each has reminded you in its own wordless way that you do not have to arrive armored. You pause for a moment just before the gate, and the hush around you deepens. Behind you, the path winds back through wildflowers and softening dusk. Before you, the Posada de las Flores glows more warmly with each passing second, as though the evening itself were drawing close around it in blessing. There is a sense now that crossing into this place is also crossing out of the need to perform, the need to manage every thought, the need to keep carrying what can finally be set down. You have not been hurried into this state. You have been persuaded into it by beauty, by fragrance, by light, by the unforced rhythm of the natural world, and perhaps that is why it feels so trustworthy. Nothing here has tried to overpower you. Nothing has tried to command you. The world has simply shown you what ease looks like in flower and stone, in air and sound, and little by little your own inner world has begun to resemble it. The path has done what paths of this kind always do. It has brought you somewhere outside yourself, and at the same time, more deeply within. So you let your hand rest lightly on the gate, feeling the coolness of iron beneath your fingers, the stillness of the evening all around you, the last traces of gold fading into blue above. The wildflowers remain behind you, like a blessing. The fragrance lingers, the quiet remains unbroken. And with the simplest, gentlest readiness, you step forward, carrying less than you did when you began. The doorway stands before you in a pool of warm evening gold, and for a moment you remain there, not because there is any hesitation in you, but because the stillness itself feels worthy of being noticed. Ivy climbs the old stone in graceful green lines, as though the house has been patiently written upon by seasons of peace. Small blossoms lean from the vines in the fading light. The lantern beside the entrance glows behind softly aged glass, and its amber flame gives the stone a living warmth, turning shadow into softness, turning the threshold into something that feels less like the entrance to a building and more like the opening of a long-awaited inner room. When your hand reaches for the door, the wood is smooth beneath your fingers, worn by time, cared for by hands that understand quiet things. The handle yields without effort. The door opens without sound. And at once, the inn receives you. Inside, the air is warmer, touched with delicate fragrance and the faint sweetness of flowers gathered somewhere nearby. There is polished wood beneath the low, honeyed light of lamps. There are rugs, softened by years, their patterns muted and welcoming rather than ornate. There are lamp-lit corners that do not hide in darkness, but rest there comfortably as though every inch of this place has made peace with stillness. Somewhere deeper within the inn, water moves in a low and peaceful murmur, perhaps from a small fountain in an inner courtyard, perhaps from a stone basin where petals float on the surface, and beneath that sound, there is the softest trace of music, so quiet, it feels less like something being played and more like something the walls themselves remember. You step inside, and the door closes gently behind you. The outer world does not disappear. It simply falls to a respectful distance. The dusk, the path, the lavender, the warm stone, the settling birds, they remain with you as a softness now carried inward. And the inn with its lamp glow and polished wood and flower-scented hush seems to understand exactly how to hold what the evening has already begun. Ahead of you is the reception desk, simple and beautifully kept, made of dark wood rubbed smooth by care. Behind it stands a woman whose presence calms you before she speaks a single word. She does not greet you with brightness or performance. She greets you with a stillness that feels like trust. Her face is kind, her movements unhurried, her voice low and clear when she finally welcomes you. She says only what is needed, and even that feels like a kindness, no more than necessary, no less than comforting. There are people whose calm is its own kind of blessing, and she is one of them. For a moment, it seems possible that she has been expecting you. Not in the ordinary way a host expects a guest, but in the deeper way, certain places seem prepared for us before we know we are coming. Her hand reaches beneath the desk, and when it rises again, she is holding a key. She places it into your hand with quiet care. The key is old, cool, and slightly weighty, made of brass worn soft by time. Its shape is simple, beautiful without trying to be, not decorative, not modern, something enduring, something made to open not just a door, but a private threshold. It rests in your palm with a gravity that is strangely reassuring, as though the moment itself wishes to be felt. The metal is cool against your skin, and for a breathless instant, the entire inn seems to gather around that small exchange. The low music, the water murmuring somewhere unseen, the amber lamps, the fragrance of flowers, the quiet gaze of the woman behind the desk. Everything seems to say the same thing at once. You are safe here. You may let go here. Then she tells you the name of your room, Lily. The word lands softly within you. Lily, a name that carries whiteness, stillness, tenderness, a name that suggests clean linen and pale petals, moonlit, quiet, untroubled water innocence, not as naivete but as peace. A room called Lily feels less like a numbered space and more like a chamber prepared for rest at the level of the soul. We often settle more deeply when the symbols around us speak the language the deeper mind already understands. And this name, simple as it is, seems to open something in you before the door is ever reached. The woman inclines her head with the faintest smile, as though no more explanation is needed. Somehow, none is. With the key in your hand, you turn from the desk and follow the corridor laid out before you. The hallway is softly lit by wall lamps whose shades turn the light to gold. The floorboards beneath your steps are old but steady. Along the walls hang framed botanical sketches, pressed flowers, little studies of petals and leaves rendered with patient hands. There are narrow tables holding vases of fresh stems, white blossoms, pale roses, herbs in simple ceramic pitchers. The scent changes as you move subtle and layered polished wood, faint linen, a trace of beeswax, and always the delicate presence of flowers, never overpowering, always in balance. Even the silence here feels furnished. You pass open alcoves where armchairs sit near bookshelves. You pass a small table by a window where a candle has been left burning low in a glass holder. You pass another lamplit corner where a bowl of floating petals catches the light like little moons. Nothing in the inn feels accidental. Every object appears to have been placed not for display, but for atmosphere, for comfort, for the quiet regulation of anyone who enters. Hospitality in a place like this is not merely service, it is a form of emotional shelter. The corridor turns once, then gently narrows. And there, near the end, you find the door marked Lily. For a moment, you simply stand before it. The brass key rests in your hand, no longer cold, now warmed by your skin. The wooden door is painted a soft ivory, its surface matte and velvety in the lamplight. A small carved lily decorates the plaque beside it, elegant and understated. The whole scene feels strangely intimate, as though the inn has led you here, not to a room among many rooms, but to the exact quiet that has been waiting for you all along. You lift the key and slide it into the lock. There is a soft click. The sound is small, but it opens something far beyond the door. You turn the handle and step inside. The room is lit in the gentlest way, not brightly, not dimly, but with the kind of softened light that immediately tells the body it may unclench. Lamps glow through fabric shades, turning the walls to cream and gold. The bed is dressed in linen so clean and pale it almost seems to hold light of its own. A quilt lies folded across the foot, patterned with faint floral stitching. Pillows rest in quiet abundance, inviting without excess. The curtains at the window are light enough to move if the night breeze touches them, and the last blue of evening gathers beyond the glass like a blessing withheld only so that it may feel more tender when seen from within. The fragrance reaches you next, white lilies, fresh, clean, serene, not heavy, not sweet in a way that asks too much, only pure and cool and quietly present the scent of peace made visible. Near the window stands a vase of white lilies, their open petals luminous in the lamplight, their stamens delicate, their presence dignified. They seem less like decoration and more like witnesses, as though they have been placed here to hold a frequency of stillness that words could never fully describe. Your gaze moves slowly across the room. A chair upholstered in soft fabric rests near a small round table. A folded shawl has been left over its arm. A ceramic pitcher and glass sit on a tray beside a lamp. There is a woven rug underfoot, gentle in color, warming the floor and quieting each footstep. A branch of dried lavender hangs near the wardrobe. Floral motifs appear everywhere. If you let your eyes linger, embroidered at the edge of a pillowcase pressed behind glass in a frame patterned in the wallpaper so subtly that it feels more like memory than design, and on the bedside table rests a book. Its cover is worn in that beautiful way. Beloved books become worn, softened at the edges by time and touch. The title is embossed in faded gold, the language of flowers. You are drawn toward it without effort. Not urgently, simply naturally, as though the room itself has already introduced you. When your fingers brush the cover, it feels both familiar and quietly mysterious. A book like this does not seem to exist merely to explain floral meanings in any ordinary sense. It seems to suggest that emotions, memories, longings, and unseen stories may all be carried in symbol, in scent, in color, in blossom, that perhaps the inner life need not always be approached through strain analysis and effort, that perhaps some truths arrive more gently when they are allowed to speak in petals and names and quiet objects by the bed. We remember differently when we are no longer trying to force remembering. Symbols often reach the places effort cannot. A key, a room called Lily, a vase of white flowers, a book waiting patiently by the bedside. Each object in this room feels as though it has been chosen for the language it speaks to the deeper self. Not loudly, not intellectually, simply and directly in that old wordless way the subconscious has always understood. You sit at the edge of the bed, and the mattress receives your weight with a softness that does not collapse, only supports. The linen beneath your hand is cool and smooth. The room does not ask anything of you. It does not ask you to reflect, to improve, to solve, to become. It asks only that you be held for a while. The water sound from somewhere in the inn reaches this room as a distant hush. The low music remains only a suggestion, now barely there, almost dissolved into atmosphere. The lilies keep their quiet fragrance. The lamps keep their amber glow. The book keeps its patient silence. Everything here seems to know how to hold what you no longer need to carry. Perhaps that is why the room feels so personal so quickly, because it has not been arranged around performance. It has been arranged around permission. Permission to soften. Permission to stop translating your experience into something useful. Permission to let beauty be enough for a moment. The bed, the light, the lilies, the linen, the book, the shawl over the chair, the simple glass of water, the calm geometry of lamp and table and window. Each object leans gently toward you with the same quiet message. You may let go here. You rise and move through the room slowly, not because you need to inspect it, but because each detail deserves to land. Your fingers brush the curtain. Your steps hush over the rug. You pause beside the lilies and take in their pale, living presence. You glance again at the book on the bedside table and feel that it is not finished with you, nor you with it. Not yet. There will be time for symbols to unfold in their own manner. For now, it is enough to know that meaning can arrive without strain. At the far wall hangs a mirror in an old painted frame. When you catch your reflection there, even that feels softer somehow, as though the light in this room is not interested in sharpness. It does not expose. It allows. The version of you reflected there looks quieter already, less defended, less burdened by the day's invisible demands. Not transformed in any dramatic sense, just gently restored to something truer. You return to the bedside and lift the book at last, opening it somewhere near the middle. The pages release the dry, comforting scent of paper kept lovingly for years. Inside are entries for blossoms, each accompanied by a few lines of meaning-memory association. Not rigid definitions, but little windows. little invitations. You do not need to read deeply. It is enough to understand the atmosphere it creates, that flowers are not only beautiful, but expressive, not only decorative, but intimate, that they carry stories the heart recognizes before the mind can name them. The inn has led you from path to threshold, from threshold to lobby, from lobby to corridor, from corridor to lily. And now, the room itself is beginning to do what the path began outside. It is loosening the hold of the surface mind by surrounding you with beauty precise enough to feel trustworthy, symbolic enough to feel meaningful, and quiet enough to let the deeper self come forward without fear. Again, the message is everywhere, though nowhere spoken aloud. In the cool brass key now resting on the table, in the name Lily on the little plaque outside the door, in the clean fragrance gathered near the window, in the worn gold title on the book, in the gentle music almost dissolved into silence, in the lamp glow touching linen and wood. The inn knows how to hold what you no longer need to carry, and because of that you begin to loosen, not all at once, not dramatically, just in the way a tightly held hand opens one finger at a time when it finally trusts the moment enough to stop gripping. Your shoulders ease. Your thoughts grow less sharp around the edges. The inner voice that narrates and measures and compares grows quieter because there is nothing here to compare yourself against, nothing here to manage, only a room prepared with tenderness, only a sequence of quiet symbols saying to the deeper mind you are safe enough now to descend. We do not always open through explanation. Sometimes we open through atmosphere, through a room that feels ready for us, through an object that seems to know our inner language, through the simple holiness of being welcomed without being examined. That is what this inn understands. That is what Lily has been prepared to offer. So you set the book gently back upon the bedside table. You let your hand rest for a moment on the smooth linen coverlet. You take in the pale flowers once more, the lamp glow, the softened corners of the room, the hush that seems to wrap around everything without closing in. And with every passing second, the sense grows stronger that this place is not merely sheltering you physically. It is arranging your inner world for rest. It is teaching your deeper self that beauty can be trusted, that quiet can hold you, that tenderness can be enough. The room called Lily has opened around you now like a secret blossom after dusk, and inside its calm enclosure, you no longer feel like a guest who must stay alert. You feel like someone who has finally been expected by peace. Later, when the deeper blue of evening has settled fully over the inn, you find yourself drawn outside again, not by urgency, not by curiosity, in any restless sense, but by the quiet invitation that certain places seem to offer without words. The room called Lily has already softened something within you. The lamps, the linen, the pale flowers, the patient hush of the bedside book have all begun their work. And now the inn seems to guide you farther inward by leading you gently outward into the garden and patio where the night air can touch your skin and the silence can widen around you. You step through a side door beneath a climbing arch of vine and blossom, and the garden opens before you, like a secret kept with loving hands. Stone underfoot still holds a little warmth from the day. The patio is simple and beautiful, bordered by beds of flowers that seem less arranged than gathered, less planted than welcomed into being. Nothing here feels ornamental in the ordinary way. The garden does not exist to impress. It exists to express. Everywhere flowers rise in quiet abundance. Some are tall and pale, nodding gently in the cooling air. Some cluster low and richly colored near the stone border. Some open wide as though unafraid to be seen. Others remain half-folded, holding their softness closer. Their differences do not divide the space, they deepen it. And as you move more slowly into the garden, it begins to feel that each bloom belongs not only to itself, but to a life, a season, a hidden tenderness, as though every flower here has grown from something once felt deeply and then entrusted to the earth. There are roses in late softness, their petals loosening at the edges like old grief turned gentle. There are small white blossoms gathered in modest clusters, carrying the feeling of simple hopes that asked for very little and somehow endured. There are bright flowers still holding a trace of sun in their color, as though joy itself had once passed through and left its signature there. There are herbs, too silver green and fragrant, releasing their quiet medicine into the air each time the breeze brushes through. Lavender again, mint, lemon balm. Something woodier beneath them, something grounding. The scents drift together in a way that does not confuse the senses, but steadies them like many soft voices agreeing. The sky above has deepened into indigo, and the first stars are beginning to appear, not yet numerous, just enough to suggest that another world is gently revealing itself overhead. Lanterns have been lit along the patio wall, and near the garden path, their warm circles of light resting on stone leaf and petal. In that meeting of amber glow and deepening blue, the whole garden feels suspended between worlds, domestic and sacred, ordinary and quietly enchanted. You notice then that you are not alone. Near a bed of flowering herbs, a woman tends the plants with calm, deliberate hands. She is not the woman from reception, though the same atmosphere of unforced kindness seems to live around her. Her movements are gentle and practiced. She lifts one stem, adjusts, another removes a faded leaf, presses the soil lightly at the base of a pot. Nothing hurried, nothing wasted. She does not fill the silence with unnecessary words, and because of that, her presence makes the silence feel companionable rather than empty. When she looks up and sees you, her expression carries a warmth that asks nothing from you. No explanation, no introduction beyond what the moment already knows. She inclines her head in greeting, and in that small gesture, there is room enough for all the versions of you that have come this far tonight. The tired one, the thoughtful one, the one that has held too much, the one that no longer wishes to explain itself. Somehow in this garden, none of them feel like too much. She gestures lightly toward a small wrought iron table on the patio, where a cup waits thin steam lifting into the cool evening air. You cross to it slowly and sit. The chair is cool at first, then comfortable. The stone beneath the table is uneven in the beautiful old way, worn by time and weather and years of quiet use. The woman brings the cup to you with both hands as though even this small offering deserves care. The tea is fragrant before it ever reaches your lips. Chamomile, perhaps, a trace of lavender, something herbal and clean beneath the softness, something green and slightly sweet. When you wrap your hands around the cup, the warmth enters your palms at once, simple and immediate. The ceramic is smooth, the heat steady, the fragrance rising in little curls that seem to draw your attention naturally into the present moment. not by force, by invitation. You take a sip. The taste is warm, herbaceous, delicate. It carries the earth and the garden into you in another form. Nothing sharp, nothing demanding. Only warmth, bitterness softened by floral notes, a tenderness of flavor that settles rather than stimulates. And as you drink, the garden around you seems to deepen in intimacy. The lantern light flickers lightly against the rim of the cup. Leaves murmur in the night air. Somewhere nearby, water continues its low, peaceful movement. A moth passes through the edge of the lamplight and disappears again into the blue hush. You do not need to speak, neither does she. The woman returns to her tending, and the garden continues to hold you both. In another place, silence might ask to be filled. Here, it feels complete. Here, silence becomes its own kind of dialogue, a shared understanding that presence can be enough, that being witnessed does not always require being questioned, that companionship can be made not from exchange, but from gentleness. Your eyes move again across the flowers, and now they seem even more expressive than before. One bloom leans against another, as though remembering support. A row of pale blossoms catches the lantern light and appears almost luminous, like private hopes still alive beneath old disappointments. Deep red petals unfold beside tender new buds, and you feel, without needing to explain it, that the garden is showing you something about the way life carries all seasons at once. What is opened, what is opening, what is withered, what is quietly beginning again. This is why the garden feels biographical, not because it tells stories in words, but because it holds them in form. Each flower seems linked to a hidden chapter in someone's life, a season of waiting, a season of loss, a season of love once given freely, a season of becoming that no one else quite saw. And yet here, all of it has become color, fragrance, texture, bloom. Nothing denied, nothing discarded, everything tended. You begin to sense that this garden is full of such unseen histories, perhaps belonging to other guests who have passed through this inn, perhaps belonging to no one and everyone at once. A rose that might carry the memory of a heart once broken open and made softer by it. A white flower that feels like a promise kept through hardship. A climbing vine that speaks of resilience so quietly, it never calls itself strength. Small blue blossoms that seem to hold private sorrow with unusual grace. Even the herbs suggest wisdom gained not through striving, but through time and steady care. And in the middle of this, you realize that you are no exception to the garden. Your own life, with its hidden ache and private hope, its longings, its unfinished questions, its moments of beauty no one else fully understood, could belong here too. Not as a problem to be solved, not as a story requiring analysis, simply as something living that may be received, tended, and allowed to soften. We release more easily when we feel witnessed without being examined. That is what this place understands so well. The woman in the garden does not ask you who you have been. The flowers do not ask you to explain your seasons. The tea does not ask you to deserve its warmth. The patio, the lanterns, the cooling night air, the quiet leaves, the soft stone beneath your feet, all of it receives you without demand. And because nothing here is trying to define you, something in you becomes willing at last to loosen. If a thought drifts back in from the day, it does not disturb the garden. It arrives and the garden remains. If a memory touches you, the lantern still glows, the tea remains warm, the woman continues tending the leaves with patient hands. Nothing reacts, nothing tightens. The space around you keeps welcoming you back in the same way each time, without judgment, without disappointment, without requiring that you be perfectly still in order to belong. So when the mind wanders as minds do, your attention returns naturally to what is here, to the warmth of the cup between your palms, to the herb-sweet fragrance rising toward your face, to the feel of cool evening brushing your cheek and temple, to the sight of pale blossoms gathered in shadow and gold, to the small sounds of leaves shifting, to the quiet figure in the garden whose presence has made this silence feel safe. Each return is gentle. Each return says the same thing: you are still welcome. You take another sip of tea, slower now. The warmth moves through you with quiet authority, not dramatic, not transformational in any visible way, just enough to remind the body that it may settle a little deeper, enough to remind the heart that gentleness is also a form of strength, enough to remind the mind that not every inner movement needs to be interpreted to be honored. The flowers seem even more alive in the night. Their colors softened by lantern light no longer call for attention in the way daytime color does. Instead, they glow inwardly, as though each blossom has retreated into its essence. And perhaps that is what this garden offers you now: not spectacle, but essence; not noise, but presence; not pressure, but the quiet suggestion that everything you have lived through can become beauty when gently tended. You think of how different things feel here from the world beyond the inn, where so much is named, too quickly measured, too sharply explained before it is ripened. Here, nothing is rushed into meaning. The garden allows mystery. It allows half-understood feelings. It allows tenderness that has not yet found language. It allows sorrow to sit beside beauty without either one canceling the other. It allows you to exist without performance, and that alone begins to feel like healing. The woman finally glances toward you again just once and offers a small, knowing smile. No speech follows it. None is needed. It is the kind of look that says, yes, you may rest here too. Yes, what you carry can be set down for a while. Yes, it is enough simply to be. You lower your gaze to the tea in your hands. A few threads of steam still rise visible in the lantern light before vanishing into the air. The cup feels lighter now, not because there is less tea, but because you are holding it differently, less tightly, more trustingly. Around you, the patio remains warm with quiet presence. The flowers remain in their intimate conversation with the night. The garden remains open, expressive, alive, with unspoken histories that have become bloom. And slowly, very slowly, you begin to understand that you do not need to explain yourself in this place in order to be received by it. You do not need to narrate your wounds, defend your tenderness, organize your past, or justify your hopes. The garden already knows another language, the language of being held in silence, the language of becoming softer under care, the language by which memory turns little by little from burden into blossom. So you sit there a while longer with the warm cup between your hands, the hush of the patio around you, the caretaker moving quietly among the leaves and petals, and the sense that something old within you is being gently reclassified, not erased, not denied, simply tended into a new form. And beneath the lantern light, with night deepening above and the fragrance of herbs and flowers resting all around you. You let yourself be part of the garden for a little while, another living thing received without question, another quiet history, allowed to soften in the care of unseen hands. After some time, you rise from the patio and follow a narrower path that curves behind the garden, where the lantern light grows softer, and the sounds of the inn begin to thin into a more delicate hush. The night feels different here, quieter in a way that seems almost suspended, as though the world is holding itself still for something subtle and sacred. Ahead of you stands the greenhouse, its glass walls faintly silvered by evening, its shape half hidden beneath climbing ivy and pale trailing blossoms. It does not call attention to itself. It simply waits luminous in its own reserved way, like a thought from another realm that has chosen to become visible. As you step closer, the panes catch two worlds at once. They reflect the dim garden behind you, the lantern glow, the suggestion of stars beginning to gather above, and at the same time they reveal the softened interior beyond. Glass has a quiet mystery to it. It shows and conceals in the same breath. It lets you see through, yet reminds you that you are crossing into a different atmosphere. And as you stand before the door, you feel that same threshold within yourself, the outer and inner, drawing nearer, waking thought growing gentler around the edges, something deeper, preparing to receive you. Inside, the air is still and faintly cool, touched with the clean, almost holy fragrance of white flowers. They fill the greenhouse in quiet abundance, arranged on tables, rising from ceramic pots, spilling from corners where moon-pale petals gather the light. Some seem to glow from within, as though each blossom has kept a little moonlight folded inside itself. Not bright, not unreal, just softly luminous enough to make the whole room feel unbound from ordinary time. You move slowly among them, and the silence here feels even finer than in the garden, less like the absence of sound and more like a veil of peace laid over everything. Along one shelf stand glass jars filled with preserved petals, pale and fragile and beautiful in their changed form. Rose petals, lily petals, jasmine blossoms petals you cannot name. Nothing precious has been lost here. It has only changed shape. What once opened in one season now rests in another, held carefully, still meaningful, still beautiful in its quiet afterlife. We are softened by places that do not rush us to define what is fading or becoming. In this greenhouse, time loosens. The mind no longer needs to sort everything into before and after waking and dreaming, memory and imagination. The flowers, the glass, the preserved petals, the lunar hush of the room. Everything invites you into a gentler field, where meanings drift rather than harden, where nothing is gone, only transformed. And as you stand among the white blossoms and their patient glow, you begin to feel suspended in that beautiful in-between, between memory and sleep, between symbol and silence, between the self you have carried all day and the softer self already drawing nearer beneath it. The glass reflects you faintly now, but even your reflection seems quieter, less fixed, more willing to blur into stillness. Here, beneath the hush behind the greenhouse glass, you do not need to hold yourself so firmly. You only need to remain and let this weightless peace gather around you until it begins to feel like your own. At last, You make your way back through the quiet corridors of the inn, and the room called Lily receives you differently now. It is dimmer than before, more intimate, as though the night has drawn closer around its walls and made everything gentler, softer, more your own. The lamp beside the bed glows low and warm. The curtains rest still against the window. The lilies remain near the glass, their fragrance clean and delicate, no longer something you simply notice, but something that seems to breathe with the room itself. You step inside and close the door, and the hush settles around you like a sheltering thought. The inn is quieter now. Somewhere in the distance, water moves in its calm and steady way, a sound so soft it feels almost woven into the air. The floor beneath you is warm with familiarity. The linen on the bed waits in pale invitation. Everything that welcomed you earlier is here again, but deepened now, as though the room has been quietly absorbing your evening and is ready to hold you even more tenderly. The lilies are gentle, never overpowering. Their white petals seem almost luminous in the softened light, carrying the same quiet language they held before, but now you understand it more fully. Rest, tenderness, permission. The inn itself seems to settle around you. Old wood lamp glow, distant water flower, scented stillness, all of it gathering into one simple feeling: you are held. And because you are held, something within you becomes beautifully receptive. The day has loosened. The mind has softened. The inner world feels open now, like a still surface ready to receive the first delicate reflection of a new image. You do not need to reach for anything. You do not need to force what comes next. It is enough to be here in Lily, in this hush, in this soft enclosure of peace, knowing you are ready to welcome what your deeper self is prepared to show you. You wake in the lily room with the quiet, unmistakable sense that something has already changed in your favor. Not as a hope, not as a fragile idea you are trying to hold on to, but as a fact so gentle and complete that it does not need to announce itself. It is simply here, resting around you like morning light. The sheets are soft against your skin, cool in one place, warm where your body has been. The air carries that faint, clean scent of old wood, fresh linen, and flowers left nearby in a small glass vase. Everything feels arranged, not by accident, but as though life has finally made space for you. You open your eyes slowly, and even before you fully lift your head from the pillow, you feel it. The room no longer meets a version of you who has come here, tired, uncertain, or unfinished. The room meets someone who belongs, someone expected, someone already received. The pale light moves across the walls with a tenderness that feels almost personal, and the quiet of the morning does not feel empty. It feels full, full of permission, full of ease, full of the strange and beautiful normality of being exactly where you are meant to be. Nothing dramatic has happened. No fanfare, no sudden proof, no event grand enough to satisfy the restless mind that once demanded visible evidence before it would believe. And yet the evidence is everywhere. It is in the way your body does not brace when it wakes, in the way your chest feels open instead of guarded, in the way your first thought is not about what is missing or what still needs fixing, or whether you are enough to receive what you desire. Your first thought is softer than that, simpler. It is done. You remain still for a moment, looking at the room as though you are seeing it from within a new life, because you are. The lily room reflects something back to you that was once difficult to accept. Beauty without apology, rest without guilt, intimacy without demand. The small details feel almost ceremonial now. The curve of the lamp, the folded throw at the end of the bed, the gentle shape of flower petals opening in the vase, the book resting nearby as though it has been waiting for your hand. The room is not extravagant, and that is part of its power. It does not overwhelm you. It confirms you. You sit up and the movement itself tells the story. There is no hurry in you, no heaviness, no old reluctance. You move like someone who trusts the day to meet them kindly. Your feet touch the floor, and even that small contact feels different, grounded, and real. You are not stepping into another day of proving, chasing, correcting, or compensating. You are stepping into a life that is already opened, a life in which you are chosen, secure, cherished, creative, peaceful, prosperous in the deepest sense of the word, not merely surrounded by good things, but inwardly available for them. You rise and cross the room, and there is something in your posture now that did not belong to the former self. Your shoulders are easy, your face is unguarded, your gaze is steady and quiet. You glance at your reflection, not to inspect, criticize, or search for reassurance, but simply to greet the person you have become. And the reflection that greets you back is familiar in the most surprising way, as though this has always been you beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the unfinished self-concepts that once tried to define the limits of your life. Here in this light in this room, you recognize yourself. You smooth your hand over the fabric of your robe or the sleeve of your shirt, noticing the texture, the softness, the simple comfort of being cared for. You pour water. You part the curtain. You look outside and see the morning resting over the garden, calm and untroubled, and the sight does not awaken longing in you. It awakens recognition. Of course life can feel like this. Of course beauty can meet you without resistance. Of course peace can become your atmosphere. The old habit of striving cannot survive here for long. In this room, even your silence has changed. It is no longer the silence of waiting. It is the silence of having arrived. The wish fulfilled does not make you theatrical. It makes you natural. You do not need to act transformed. You simply are. There is ease in the way you straighten the blankets, ease in the way you touch the flowers, ease in the way you stand near the window and let the morning gather around you. Fulfillment is not loud, it is settled. It is the absence of inner argument. It is the body no longer preparing for disappointment, and because of that, everything ordinary becomes luminous. The cup on the table, the quiet hall beyond the door, the distant suggestion of someone in the inn already awake moving gently through the morning. Hospitality lives here, but more than that, something else lives here too. The undeniable feeling that your life is no longer withholding itself from you. You are no longer outside your own experience, pressing your face to the glass of the life you want. You are inside it now, breathing it, wearing it, moving within it as though it has always known your name. You do not ask whether you deserve this feeling. That question has fallen away. You do not negotiate with peace. You do not bargain with worth. You let the moment tell the truth in its own quiet language. You are here, you are held. You are no longer ruled by lack. Fear no longer furnishes the room of your identity. The unfinished stories no longer speak the loudest. Something kinder has taken their place. Something stable. A lived atmosphere of enoughness. As you prepare for the day, every gesture becomes proof. The calm with which you choose what to wear. The softness in your hands. The unhurried way you open the door. Even your listening has changed. You are not listening for danger. You are listening for life. And life in this place answers you with 1,000 tender confirmations. The quiet certainty of being expected. The warmth of a place prepared. The intimate dignity of ordinary beauty. The feeling that nothing needs to happen now in order for you to be complete. This is the fulfilled state, and here it feels normal. Not distant, not difficult, not rare. Normal. Natural. Yours. And as you step fully into the morning, the lily room remains behind you like a blessing, still and luminous, holding the shape of the self you no longer have to become. Because so gently, so completely, you already are. You step from the lily room into the inn, as though you are moving through a world that has already accepted you. The transition is seamless, like one image dissolving into another. The quiet of your room follows you into the hallway, then into the garden, then into each space that opens before you. And everywhere you go, the posada seems to mirror something back to you. Not because the world has suddenly changed, but because you have. Your assumption of worth, of calm, of inner richness now colors everything you touch. When the caretaker greets you, it is with the kind of warmth that needs no explanation. There is nothing exaggerated in their voice, nothing overly intimate, and yet you feel immediately seen. They look at you as though your peace is obvious, as though anyone could tell just from the way you carry yourself that something in you has come home. And perhaps they can. Your smile rises easily. Your answer is simple, natural, unforced. You do not reach for approval. You meet kindness as someone familiar with receiving it. You walk into the garden, and the flowers seem brighter than before. Not brighter in a dramatic way, not impossibly vivid, but alive in a way you had once been too burdened to fully notice. Petals hold the light with a kind of devotion. Leaves tremble in the soft air. The path invites your steps. You realize that the beauty was always here. It is your state that has changed. You are no longer moving through the world, half defended, half absent. You are here now, receptive enough to notice what has been quietly waiting for your attention all along. There is warmth in the air, and the garden gives it back to you. The scent of earth and flowers rises softly. Somewhere nearby, tea is being prepared, and the faint fragrance drifts toward you, mingling with petals. Greenery, morning light. A chair on the patio seems placed there precisely for the person you are now. Someone who does not have to earn stillness. Someone who can sit and be met by the hour without guilt. You lower yourself into the chair, and even the fabric beneath your hand, the texture of the armrest, the angle of sunlight across the table, all seem to affirm the same truth. You belong in spaces that nourish you. Later, you move toward the dining room, and the inn receives you there too. Candlelight from the evening before may still live in your memory, but now the room holds another kind of tenderness. There is polished wood, soft linens, the intimate hush of a place where meals are made meaningful by attention. And there, somewhere within the room, or only within your awareness of it. The piano seems to play for the person you have become. Each note feels less like background and more like recognition. The music does not ask you to become softer, richer, more open. It responds to the softness, richness, and openness already present in you. You notice how differently you take your tea now. You lift the cup with care, not because you are trying to be mindful, but because mindfulness has become natural in a life no longer rushed by inner lack. Warmth passes into your hands. Steam touches your face. The taste is simple and complete. Even this feels like evidence. The way you savor instead of consume. The way you receive instead of reaching. The way your body trusts enough to enjoy. From there, your attention drifts toward the greenhouse. Once it might have felt mysterious, almost distant, like a symbol of something hidden or not yet available. But now it feels responsive, welcoming, as though it has been waiting not for the right key, but for the right state. You enter, and the air changes around you, warmer, alive with growth. Glass catches the light. Leaves hold droplets like tiny jewels. The scent is deeper here, green and damp and quietly fertile. You do not feel outside this mystery anymore. You feel included in it. The greenhouse seems to answer your presence. Not with words, not with magic, but with a quiet accord between your inner world and what surrounds you. Growth no longer feels uncertain. It feels inevitable, natural. You move among the plants with that same calm certainty you felt upon waking, and everything here seems to understand it. Life responds to the state you sustain, not through effort, but through resonance. As you move back through the inn, each room continues the reflection. The patio offers ease. The dining room offers nourishment and song. The garden offers beauty without demand. The greenhouse offers living proof that what is tended in warmth unfolds in time. The staff move with a kind of understated grace, and even their manner becomes part of the mirror. No one is forcing you to be worthy here. No one is testing whether you belong. The whole place behaves as though your belonging has already been decided. And so you begin to understand more deeply than before that the inn is not merely around you. It is participating in your new self-concept. Its hospitality mirrors your inner welcome. Its beauty mirrors your value. Its quiet richness mirrors the abundance now settling into your identity. What once seemed external now feels intimate. What once seemed symbolic now feels lived. You walk through these spaces like someone whose life has finally stopped arguing with them. You are not proving your peace. You are carrying it. You are not trying to attract beauty. You are noticing it because beauty has found a home in you. The posada reflects this back from every angle, through light, through fabric, through tea, through petals, through music, through the warmth of those who greet you. And with each subtle confirmation, the new assumption roots more deeply. You are worthy, you are calm, you are inwardly rich, and the world so gently now agrees. At first, relief arrives so quietly you almost miss it. Not as a dramatic release, not as a sudden collapse of everything heavy, but as softness entering places that had grown used to tension. Something in you loosens. The emotional body once held in ways you hardly noticed begins to unclench. The heart no longer grips. The mind no longer circles. Even the spaces behind your eyes seem gentler now, as though the effort of holding everything together has been set down. Relief feels warm here. It feels like the bed that held you without asking anything from you, like the tea warming your hands, like the garden allowing you to walk among its colors without demanding that you explain yourself. Relief is not empty. It is tender. It is the blessed moment when your inner world realizes it no longer has to prepare for the worst. You do not have to push for good things with a frightened hand. You do not have to brace before receiving. You can soften, and from that softness, something even more beautiful begins to rise. The quieter majesty of being safe enough to receive, not just survive, not just endure, receive. Love, peace, attention, beauty, right, timing, kindness, welcome. There is dignity in that, a gentle nobility in no longer meeting life with suspicion, but with the steady openness of someone who trusts they are allowed to be blessed. You feel it in the inn's sacred quiet, in the way the rooms seem to hold space around you, in the way candle glow, flower petals, polished wood, and music all seem to say the same thing in different forms: you are welcome here. And as that message sinks deeper, joy begins to appear, understated and complete. Not loud, not sparkling for performance, not exaggerated into something unbelievable. Just a clean, quiet joy. The joy of being at ease in yourself. The joy of not fighting the moment. The joy of being welcomed by life. Peace too changes meaning here. It is not the absence of self. It is the return of self without pressure. The return of your natural rhythm, your natural tenderness, your natural enoughness. Peace is not you becoming smaller so that nothing disturbs you. It is you becoming real again, present again. No longer crowded by old fears and unfinished stories, no longer asked to carry a version of yourself built from urgency. And so you linger in the feeling, not forcing it, not trying to intensify it, just allowing it to be. Warmth in the chest, softness in the belly, a tender steadiness through the whole being. You are safe enough to let good things touch you, safe enough to stop interpreting beauty as temporary, safe enough to let kindness arrive all the way. We know how much changes when the heart no longer closes before it has even received. We know how much becomes possible when softness is no longer mistaken for danger. You feel welcomed by life, and that feeling changes everything. It changes the way the light falls across a table, the way music enters your awareness, the way another person's gentle tone can reach you without resistance. It changes the meaning of stillness. It changes the meaning of waiting. It changes the meaning of your own presence. You are not a problem passing through the world. You are a beloved presence within it. The inn has become the language through which this feeling speaks to you. The room says rest. The garden says bloom. The greenhouse says grow. The meal says receive. The tea says soften. The music says remember. And your body, hearing all of this in its own silent way, begins to believe what the mind once found difficult. That goodness can be gentle, that peace can be stable, that you do not need to earn the right to be met lovingly by your own life. So you stay here a little longer in this inward warmth, in this relief that has become tenderness, in this tenderness that has become quiet joy, in this joy that has become trust. Nothing is being forced. Nothing is being preached. You're simply feeling the truth of a self, no longer pressured to be more than it already is in order to deserve what is beautiful. And in that feeling, the shift becomes real. Not because you declared it loudly, but because you allowed yourself to receive it deeply. Gratitude begins here in the language of small, beautiful things. Not as performance, not as a duty, not as something you force yourself to feel in order to become worthy, but as a natural response to being held so gently by the world around you. You look at the lily room, and gratitude rises for the room that held you, for the bed that softened your body, for the light that entered quietly, for the flowers that stood nearby saying something words could not quite say, for the hush that allowed your deeper self to come forward without interruption. You feel grateful for the hand that offered the key. Such a simple gesture, and yet something in it lingers. The key was more than entry. It was permission, a quiet welcome, a sign that there are places in life prepared for you before you arrive. Places that do not ask you to prove anything first. You receive that memory now with warmth. Gratitude for welcome. Gratitude for access. Gratitude for the invisible kindnesses that open doors before the conscious mind knows what they mean. Then, gratitude turns toward the garden. Toward the path, the petals, the green patience of leaves, the way the air moved through that space as though everything there understood the value of becoming without hurry. The garden did not ask you to be anyone else. It did not demand an improved version, a perfected version, a more impressive version. It let you come exactly as you were, and in doing so, it helped you remember who you are beneath all strain. There is gratitude in that recognition, gratitude for spaces that do not pressure the soul. Perhaps your hand rests on the little book, The Language of Flowers, and even that becomes part of the ritual. Symbols help the mind accept change. Beauty carries truth into places that argument cannot reach. A flower can say devotion, remembrance, gentleness, trust, renewal, and the heart receives it more easily than if it had been told to believe by force. We understand through symbols what we cannot always explain directly, and so gratitude grows for every object that became a bridge between your inner world and the new self quietly awakening within it. You feel grateful for the tea, for the warmth of the cup, for the fragrance that rose before the first sip, for the pause it invited, for the way something so ordinary could become sacred simply by being received with presence. Gratitude for the meal, too, for nourishment prepared with care, for the dining room that turned eating into an experience of being tended, for the music nearby, for the piano tones that seemed to understand something about your heart without asking questions. You feel grateful for the greenhouse for its living hush, for the mysterious beauty that now feels less like distance and more like partnership. Gratitude for growth that does not need to be rushed. Gratitude for signs of life unfolding at their own pace. Gratitude that your inner world can change through beauty, not force. Through repetition of gentleness, through atmosphere, through the ordinary holiness of being in a place that mirrors back your own becoming. As evening gathers in memory, even the candle glow becomes part of your gratitude. Light resting on a table, soft shadows moving along the walls, the feeling of being somewhere intimate, somewhere timeless, somewhere that lets you put down what you no longer need to carry. Gratitude accumulates like petals falling one by one into a bowl, and with each small blessing, your emotional world fills more deeply, not with excitement alone, but with fullness. The fullness of noticing, the fullness of receiving, the fullness of quietly saying yes to what has already been given. And through it all, gratitude becomes believable because it is embodied. It lives in wood and linen, in tea and music, in flowers and keys, in light and warmth, in welcome and rest. It does not float above your life as an idea. It moves through your senses. It settles into your body. It becomes part of the evidence that your world is changing from the inside out. So you let yourself feel thankful for what held you, what greeted you, what softened you, what reflected you back to yourself. Thankful for beauty that asked nothing. Thankful for symbols that spoke gently. Thankful for the possibility that transformation can arrive through tenderness. Thankful that your soul recognizes truth more easily when it is wrapped in fragrance music, warmth, and care. And in that gratitude, something deep within you bows not in submission, but in reverence for the quiet ways life has already begun loving you into a new reality. Now the identity blossoms into fact, and the words rise softly from within you, as natural as petals, opening to morning light. I am safe to receive. I am safe to receive love. I am safe to receive peace. I am safe to receive beauty care and devotion. I am already welcomed. I am welcomed before I arrive. I am welcomed in the right rooms, the right moments, the right reality. I am already received by life. I am worthy of beauty. I am worthy of peace. I am worthy of tenderness. I am worthy of being cherished without condition. I am worthy of the gentle life that now meets me. I am remembered by life in loving ways. I am remembered by grace. I am remembered by beauty. I am remembered by the quiet kindness that opens doors for me. I am never forgotten by what is meant for me, like the flowers in the garden I open without strain. Like the lily room I hold peace naturally. Like the tea warming in my hands I receive with softness. Like the music in the dining room I move with quiet harmony. Like the greenhouse I am alive with unseen growth. I am at home in the reality meant for me. I am at home in peace. I am at home in worthiness. I am at home in being loved well. I am at home in what once seemed distant. I am no longer chasing what already belongs to me. I am no longer running after my own blessings. I am no longer searching outside myself for permission to receive. What is mine meets me. What is mine recognizes me. What is mine arrives in peace. I am the one who rests, receives, and becomes. I rest without guilt. I receive without fear. I become without force. I allow the truest version of me to live openly now. You let each affirmation settle like a flower placed gently on still water, and the mind does not resist because the rhythm is soft, the truth is kind, and the body is ready to believe what peace repeats. I am enough now. I am whole now. I am chosen now. I am supported now. I am settled in the fulfilled state now. I am deeply safe in my own life. I am deeply safe in my own heart. I am deeply safe in receiving what is good. I trust what comes to me in love. I belong in beautiful spaces. I belong in calm conversations. I belong in reciprocal love. I belong in restful abundance. I belong where my soul can exhale. I am allowed to have a gentle life. I am allowed to have a peaceful mind. I am allowed to be loved in ways that feel steady, and true. I am allowed to stop striving. I am allowed to let it be easy. The floral world around you seems to echo the words. Petals do not question whether they should open. Fragrance does not apologize for filling the room. Light does not ask if it is worthy to fall across the table. And so, your identity no longer apologizes either. I am the one who is welcomed. I am the one who is chosen. I am the one who is held by life with quiet devotion. I am the one who receives naturally. I am the one who lives in inner richness. I already am, I already am, I already am. And if this identity feels true in your spirit, you may seal it by commenting, I already am, and subscribe to continue. So this new self is strengthened each time you return. I already am peaceful. I already am worthy. I already am beloved. I already am enough. I already am living in the reality prepared for me. I do not force. I do not chase. I do not plead. I receive. I trust. I become. I am the bloom and the root. I am the welcome and the arrival. I am the rest and the renewal. I am the one who rests, receives, and becomes. Let the words drift through you again, slower, now deeper, now softer now. I am safe to receive. I am already welcomed. I am worthy of beauty, peace, and devotion. I am remembered by life in loving ways. I am at home in the reality meant for me. I am no longer chasing what already belongs to me. I am the one who rests, receives, and becomes. And in the hush that follows, the identity feels less like repetition and more like fact. Now the change becomes visible in the quiet evidence of how you move through the world. Not in loud declarations, not in dramatic outcomes, but in signals so subtle and steady that they cannot be faked. This is how the fulfilled self behaves when it no longer needs to convince anyone. I move with quiet certainty. I walk in peace. I carry myself with ease. I do not rush to prove what is already true. I respond from peace, not pressure. I answer gently. I choose calmly. I let stillness lead before old urgency can speak. My nervous system knows it is safe to soften. I notice beauty because beauty lives in me. I notice timing because I trust timing. I notice kindness because I am open to kindness. What I am inwardly, I recognize outwardly. Like the inn's hospitality, my presence communicates welcome. Like candlelight, I soften a room without effort. Like music in the dining room, I bring calm where I go. Like the garden, I do not force blooming. Like the greenhouse, I trust what is growing unseen. I attract calm exchanges. I attract warm spaces. I attract right timing. I attract what matches the peace I now sustain. Life reflects the atmosphere I embody. I trust what is unfolding for me. I do not interrupt my blessings with fear. I do not disturb my own becoming with doubt. I let life come closer. I let good things arrive in their natural form. My presence communicates safety and completeness. Others feel my steadiness. Others feel my sincerity. Others feel the ease I have made home within myself. I no longer send the signal of lack. I no longer send the signal of panic. I send the signal of wholeness. We become convincing to life when we stop arguing with it inside ourselves. We become magnetic in a deeper way when our behavior matches the peace we claim. And so your new self is revealed in simple things. I listen fully. I speak clearly. I pause without fear. I wait without collapse. I act without desperation. I allow doors to open naturally. I allow conversations to unfold gracefully. I allow answers to come in right timing. I do not cling. I do not force. I remain available. My life reflects the state I now sustain. My days mirror my inner calm. My relationships mirror my self-respect. My opportunities mirror my readiness to receive. My world answers the frequency I live in. Even your stillness is different now. It is no longer emptiness. It is coherence. It is the quiet strength of someone who trusts their place in the unfolding. You do not react to every passing shadow. You do not abandon yourself when uncertainty appears. You remain rooted. I stay with myself in peace. I stay open in the presence of good. I stay grounded when beauty arrives. I stay calm when life begins to match my new assumption. This is how change proves itself. In your tone, in your pace, in your eyes, in the way you enter a room, in the way you receive a greeting, in the way you hold a cup of tea, in the way you let a moment be enough. The inn has shown you the model gracious, warm, unforced, quietly rich. And now that atmosphere lives in you. I move with quiet certainty. I respond from peace, not pressure. I notice beauty because beauty lives in me. I attract calm exchanges, warm spaces, and right timing. I trust what is unfolding for me. My presence communicates safety and completeness. My life reflects the state I now sustain. Again, softer now. I move with quiet certainty. I respond from peace, not pressure. I trust what is unfolding for me. My life reflects the peace I now live, and the more gently you repeat it, the more natural it becomes. Now the ritual is sealed. You do not need to keep working. You do not need to hold the state with strain. The assumption has already been planted, and what is planted in softness roots more deeply than anything forced by effort. The inn has held this becoming for you. The key, the room, the flowers, the greenhouse, the meal, the tea, the music, the quiet welcome of every space, all of it has formed a sacred container around this new identity. And that identity is accepted now. You have entered it. You have felt it. You have spoken from it. You have let the world of the inn mirror it back to you until it no longer feels like imagination alone, but memory. Living memory. Inner fact. So now you can rest. Let the lily room remain within you as a symbol of belonging. Let the garden remain within you as a symbol of effortless blooming. Let the greenhouse remain within you as a symbol of unseen growth already underway. Let the tea remain within you as warmth. Let the music remain within you as harmony. Let the key remain within you as permission already granted. You do not have to force the flower to open once it has been placed in the right light. You do not have to keep proving what your heart has already accepted. Quietly inwardly, I receive, I trust, I rest. And you so gently now allow the new self to settle where it belongs, not on the surface, not in performance, but deep within the calm center of who you are. The ritual is sealed in peace. The change is accepted in softness. And what has been accepted here will continue to live root and unfold without struggle. You do not need to hold the story so tightly now. You do not need to keep every lamp lit in your mind, or every flower in place, or every corner of the inn arranged exactly as it was. The room may soften, the tea may cool into memory, the piano may fade into silence, the greenhouse may become only a hush of glass and shadow. The petals, the light, the wooden floor, the distant evening sounds, all of it may loosen and drift as gently as mist leaving the garden before dawn. And still, what mattered remains, because it was never only the room. It was never only the flowers or the light or the quiet music hidden in the walls. It was the feeling those things opened in you. It was the welcome. It was the safety. It was the sense that nothing in you needed to perform or prove or defend itself here. It was the way the night received you without question. That is what stays, so let the details become softer now. Let them blur at the edges. Let the inn become less a picture and more a warmth, less a place to keep imagining and more a truth you already carry. The room, the flowers, the tea, the light, the piano, the greenhouse, all of it distills into one steady inner tone, a tone of peace, a tone of being held, a tone of quiet belonging. You do not need to return again and again to the image in order to keep it alive. What is real has already entered you. What soothed you has already found its place. What opened in you does not disappear just because the scene begins to dissolve. In fact, now that you stop gripping it, it can sink more deeply. Now it can become natural. Now it can become yours. So let the story loosen. Let the inn rest from being pictured. Let the guests disappear into softness. Let the windows dim. Let the corridors fold into stillness. Let the whole beautiful arrangement float free like a lantern carried upward into the dark until you no longer need to see it to know it is there. And what remains is simple. You are calm. You are welcomed. You are held inside something gentle and true. The image may fade, but the feeling remains. The symbols may pass, but the atmosphere stays. The night has already placed its peace inside you, so now you keep only that. Only the feeling. Only the quiet truth beneath the story. Only the tenderness that lingers when everything else becomes soft. And that is enough. More than enough. That is what you take with you now as the last of the scene dissolves, and only the living warmth of it remains. Now the inn is settling around you. The last small motions of evening have already passed into silence. Somewhere, perhaps, a final dish was set aside and dried by hand. Somewhere, a chair was nudged gently into place. Somewhere, a piano key once touched now waits in perfect stillness, its music long absorbed into the walls. A lantern burns lower. A hallway grows quieter. Old wood releases the day and keeps only the night. The Posada de las Flores is resting now not only in parts, but as one whole presence. The rooms are quiet. The courtyard is quiet. The stairway is quiet. The greenhouse glows no more with invitation, only with a kind of sleeping memory. The flowers rest in their own way, petals closed or softened fragrance folded inward beauty, no less alive for being still. The lamps have dimmed, the stone has cooled, the old walls which held voices and footsteps and little moments of passing life now hold silence just as lovingly. And in other rooms, other guests sleep. Behind their doors, they are carried by their own dreams, their own fragrances, their own private tenderness. Someone sleeps beneath linen, touched by moonlight. Someone sleeps with the faint scent of blossoms near the window. Someone has already fallen into the deep, kind silence that comes when a place feels safe enough to stop listening for danger. No one needs to know the others. No one needs to speak, and yet all are held in the same great hush tonight. You are part of that hush. You belong to the peaceful order of this night. Not separate from it. Not outside of it. You are one quiet note in a larger harmony. The inn sleeps, and you sleep with it. The flowers rest, and something in you rests too. The walls let go of the day, and you let go with them. The water murmurs somewhere in the distance, low and faithful, as if reminding every room that the night is moving gently, and everything is safe. Even the building seems to breathe, not with effort, but with age, calm, and surrender. The beams above you, the floor beneath you, the air around you all seem to have accepted the hour completely. Nothing strains, nothing reaches, nothing asks to be different from what it is. The whole sanctuary has entered its own soft coherence, and you are included in that coherence. You do not rest alone. You rest with the inn, with the sleeping flowers, with the dim lamps, with the water, with the closed greenhouse, with the settled rooms, with the unseen guests dreaming nearby. We are all, for this moment, gathered into one shared stillness, one sleeping field, one atmosphere of quiet trust. The night does not divide itself. It covers everything evenly. It touches every window, every bed, every folded blanket, every cooling teacup left somewhere beyond your knowing. It softens every corner. It lowers itself over every thought. It makes companions of strangers by blessing them with the same calm. So you do not need to create rest for yourself. You are already inside a place where rest is happening everywhere. It surrounds you. It includes you. It asks nothing from you except your willingness to be carried by it. The inn is no longer simply a setting. It is a field of peace. And you are part of that field now, a welcomed presence within it. A quiet life held inside a larger quiet life. The whole place is sleeping in its own beautiful way, and your body, your mind, your heart are allowed to follow. The Posada de las Flores settles more deeply. The lamps dim lower. The flowers close further into fragrance and stillness. The water continues its low song. The walls keep watch without effort. The guests sleep in gentle secrecy, and you two are gathered into the same calm order, the same deep softness, the same shared and peaceful night. There is something about night that makes the invisible easier to feel. When the visible world grows quiet, when shapes lose their sharpness and outlines become tender, we begin to notice what daylight often asks us to ignore. Not because darkness gives us less, but because it asks less of us. It does not demand that we explain, organize, or hold everything in place. It lets what is subtle come forward. Night loosens the world of surfaces. It softens names. It relaxes the edges of things. And in that softness, another kind of seeing becomes possible. Not the seeing of effort, but the seeing of receptivity. The inner window opens most easily when the outer world no longer shines so brightly. This is why certain truths arrive more gently at night, not as arguments, not as proof, but as knowing, as resonance, as a quiet recognition that slips past resistance and rests directly in the deeper places within us. The mind that stops gripping begins to perceive differently. The heart that is no longer defending itself begins to hear what was always there. The greenhouse glow, the preserved petals, the dimming of evening into full night, all of it has been guiding you toward this. toward a sacred kind of softness, toward the understanding that dreams are not effort. They are permission. They are the soul unfastening its collar. They are the inner life speaking in forms gentle enough to be received. And so you do not need to force meaning now. You do not need to chase symbols or interpret every shimmer. It is enough to be open, enough to let the night do what night does best, to let it quiet the visible world until the invisible one can be felt. There is wisdom in this dimness. There is grace in this surrender, and you are safe inside it, safe to receive, safe to soften, safe to let a deeper seeing come to you in its own language, in its own hour, in its own peaceful way. I am safe here, and you can let those words rest inside you without effort, as though they have been waiting all along for a quiet enough place to be believed. I am welcomed here. Nothing in you has to earn this welcome. Nothing in you has to become more pleasing, more polished, more certain. You are already received. I am already held, and you do not need to keep holding yourself so tightly now. The night is kind enough to carry what you no longer need to carry alone. I am safe here. The room remembers peace for you. The walls do not ask questions. The bed does not ask questions. The soft dimness asks nothing at all. It only surrounds you with gentleness. I am welcomed here, as though this place knew you were coming, as though the flowers had been quietly preparing their fragrance, as though the lamp had chosen this low golden light just for your rest, as though the whole night had made a little space for you and said, yes, here, you may soften now. I am already held. The flowers keep watch in silence. The hallway remains still. The water moves somewhere beyond the room, patient and low. Everything around you seems to understand how to hold peace without speaking of it. The night is kind to me. Let that line drift through you now, slowly, softly, without hurry. The night is kind to me, not distant from you, not indifferent to you, kind to you. The room remembers peace for me, as if peace has lived here before, as if peace knows the shape of these linens, the hush of these walls, the way moonlight brushes old wood and settles without noise, as if you only had to arrive for peace to recognize you. The flowers keep watch in silence. No need for movement, no need for language. Their stillness is enough. Their fragrance is enough. Their quiet companionship is enough. What is mine is already finding me. You do not need to chase tonight. You do not need to call anything closer with strain. What is yours can arrive through calm. What belongs to you can find you in stillness. What has already been accepted in the heart no longer needs to be pursued by force. I rest in what I have accepted. This line can become a bed of its own. I rest in what I have accepted, not in what I fear, not in what I doubt, not in what I keep postponing. I rest in what I have accepted. I sleep inside gentleness, and little by little you do, more fully with each repetition, more truly with each soft return. I belong to this calm. You do not visit it as a stranger. You belong to it. You recognize it. Something in you has always known the way back. I am safe here. I am welcomed here. I am already held. The night is kind to me. The room remembers peace for me. The flowers keep watch in silence. What is mine is already finding me. I rest in what I have accepted. I sleep inside gentleness. I belong to this calm, and as these lines repeat, They no longer feel like sentences. They become atmosphere. They become rhythm. They become the soft swing of a lantern in a quiet hallway, the low murmur of water, the faint, clean sweetness of lilies in the room. They become something you do not need to hold in the mind because the body has begun to understand them on its own. I am safe here. You can let that one stay the longest. I am welcomed here. You can let that one open what still feels guarded. I am already held. You can let that one take the final weight from your shoulders. The night is kind to me. You can let that one accompany you into the dimmer layers of rest. The room remembers peace for me. You can let that one become larger than thought. The flowers keep watch in silence. You can let that one remain when words begin to blur. What is mine is already finding me. You can let that one soften any last reaching. I rest in what I have accepted. You can let that one settle like warm quiet through the chest. I sleep inside gentleness. You can let that one become almost a lullaby. I belong to this calm. You can let that one be the final truth you do not need to explain. And again, more softly now, I am safe here. I am welcomed here. I am already held. The night is kind to me. The room remembers peace for me. The flowers keep watch in silence. What is mine is already finding me. I rest in what I have accepted. I sleep inside gentleness. I belong to this calm, and now the edges blur a little more. The phrases drift closer together. They no longer stand apart. They fold into one another gently, naturally, like petals closing for the night. Safe here, welcomed here, already held. Night is kind. Peace remembers. Flowers keep watch. What is mine is finding me. I rest. I sleep. I belong. Now there is nothing more you need to do. The mattress receives you fully, without reservation, without condition. It does not ask you to stay alert. It does not ask you to prepare for anything. It only receives your weight and keeps receiving it as though it has been made for this exact surrender. Every part of you that has been holding itself up a little too carefully can give that effort away now. The bed understands how to carry you. The linen is one of the last clear sensations to remain. Cool in places, soft in places, light against the skin, a simple kindness, fabric resting against you, as though even touch has become gentler here. You do not have to improve this moment. You only have to let yourself be in it. Linen, stillness, quiet weight, faint fragrance, dim room, night. Somewhere nearby, water continues, low and steady. A sound that does not interrupt, only accompanies. It does not ask for attention. It does not become larger. It remains what it is. A soft thread moving through the darkness, reminding the room that life continues peacefully beyond the edge of thought. The water is reassuring because it asks nothing. It simply goes on, and you are allowed to go on with it further inward, further down, further into rest, and the lily fragrance remains faint and clean, not strong, not demanding, just present enough to remind you that beauty can stay near you quietly, a pale fragrance in the night air, a tender trace. It rests in the room the way moonlight rests on a wall, lightly, without force, without effort. And maybe that fragrance is one of the last things the waking mind can notice before it gives way to softer things. The inn sleeps, the garden sleeps, the greenhouse sleeps, the hallway sleeps. The old walls sleep in their own way, holding silence the way they once held voices. The lamps sleep as their glow grows lower. The flowers sleep inside their fragrance. The courtyard sleeps under the night air. The unseen rooms sleep with the steady privacy of dreaming guests. The whole place has entered a kind of holy hush, and you are not outside it. You are inside it. You are part of it. You do not need to achieve sleep. Sleep is not waiting for the perfect thought. It is not hidden behind one more effort. It is not something you have to earn by doing this correctly. You are already entering it, already crossing that quiet threshold where the body knows more than the mind, already being carried by the softness that has been gathering around you from the beginning. The pillow holds the shape of your head. The sheets hold the warmth that remains and the coolness that returns. The room keeps its silence. The water keeps its distance. The lilies keep their clean, pale note in the air. The night keeps widening. Nothing needs to happen next. Nothing needs to be solved before sleep can take you. Nothing needs to be understood completely. The inn is not waiting for you to finish being awake. It has already gone ahead into stillness, and you are free to follow. So the room becomes smaller now in the gentlest way. Not closed in, only simplified. Bed, pillow, linen, faint lamp, water, lilies, night. These are enough. The mind does not need more than this. The senses do not need more than this. Even the memory of the inn no longer arrives as a sequence of places, but as one soft enclosure of care. Bed, linen, lilies, water, night, and beneath that, something quieter still, held, safe, quiet, resting. You may notice how thoughts no longer form with the same edges. They loosen, they drift, they begin to dissolve before they fully arrive. This is natural. This is good. You do not need to collect them. You do not need to complete them. Let them become soft fragments, moving through a larger softness. The mattress receives you, the linen cool against the skin, the faint fragrance, the water low and far away, the inn sleeping all around you. Somewhere a hallway stands still in darkness. Somewhere a flower closes a little more. Somewhere old wood settles by a sound too quiet to hear. Somewhere another sleeping guest turns once and falls deeper into dream. The whole inn continues without asking anything of you. It keeps the night for you. It keeps the hush for you. It keeps the sense that all is well. And so the body follows, jaw softer, shoulders softer, hands softer. Even the places that did not know they were tense begin to understand there is no reason now, no reason here, not in this bed, not in this room, not while the lilies breathe so lightly into the dark and the water moves with such untroubled patience. The lamp is dim, the room is kind, the bed is ready, the night is deepening, and you are already on your way down, not by force but by permission, down into the pillow, down into the linen, down into the low hush of water, down into the pale sweetness of lilies, down into the inn's shared sleep, down where thought becomes feeling, down where feeling becomes atmosphere, down where atmosphere becomes dream. There is no edge you need to leap across, only a gradual giving way, a soft yielding, a becoming less separate from the stillness that surrounds you. The room continues, the inn continues, the night continues, and you drift more quietly within it. You do not need to picture anything now. You do not need to remember anything now. You do not need to call anything closer. All that mattered has already arrived. All that soothed you is already here. All that was planted can deepen in silence. Bed, pillow, linen, lilies, water, night, held, safe, quiet, rest. Maybe even the words begin to thin now. Maybe only the gentlest ones remain, the ones that ask almost nothing of the waking mind. Soft bed, cool linen, faint lilies, low water, sleeping in, kind night, already held, already safe, already resting, and softer still, linen, lilies, water, night, sleep. The inn sleeps, the garden sleeps, the greenhouse sleeps, the hallway sleeps, the guests sleep, the lamps sleep, the flowers sleep, and you sleep with them. Nothing more to do, nothing more to keep, nothing more to become tonight. Only this bed, only this quiet, only this deepening hush, only this tender descent, only this, and lower now, softer now, quieter now. The room remains, the water remains, the lilies remain, the night remains. Even as the voice seems farther away, the room continues. The bed continues. The peace continues without being spoken. The inn keeps resting around you. The old walls keep watch. The darkness stays gentle. The fragrance stays clean and pale. The water keeps moving in the distance, low, faithful enough. And if words blur now, that is right. If sentences become fragments, that is right. If even fragments begin to fade, that is right. Because the room can continue after the voice fades. The bed can continue. The lilies can continue. The water can continue. The night can continue. You can let go. You can go down. You can disappear into rest the way a lamp disappears into dimness, without fear, without effort, without resistance. Soft bed, low water, pale lilies, kind night, sleep, good night, sweet dreams. May the peace of this place remain with you long after the words have faded. May the quiet that found you tonight continue to deepen in silence. May what was planted gently in the dark keep unfolding without effort, without pressure, without noise. May you be carried by rest and sheltered by it and renewed in ways too soft to measure. The inn keeps the night for you. The room keeps its peace for you. The flowers keep their silence for you. The water keeps its low song for you. You do not need to hold any of it now. You do not need to remember every line or keep any thought awake. What mattered has already settled where it needed to settle. What soothed you has already entered you. What opened tonight can continue quietly on its own. So let yourself go deeper. Let the night be gentle with you. Let sleep come the way it already has been, coming softly, naturally, almost unnoticed. Let it take you farther than words can follow. Let it cover you kindly. May your dreams be sweet. May your heart stay untroubled. May your body rest fully. May your inner world remain open to all that is quiet, true, and lovingly yours. Good night, sweet dreams. May the peace of this place remain with you. May what was planted tonight deepen in silence. The inn keeps the night for you. And if this helped you, subscribe and share so others can rest and rewire tonight. Now softer still. Good night, sweet dreams. Peace remains. The night is kind. You are held, and all is quiet now.